Imagine a petition calling for the outright ban of Sophie Cunningham, and then watch the same petition light up Cunningham's social feeds like it's her personal highlight reel. That petition, demanding her removal from the league, spread across change.org in under 24 hours, fueled by outrage and shock at what some called unforgivable on-court aggression.
Sophie Cunningham's response to all this, in terms of her tweets, like, if you guys didn't see Sophie Cunningham's retweets, Sophie Cunningham obviously responded with the shrug Instagram post, but has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jerseys being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like that is the best way of going.
But Sophie's response? It wasn't a meek apology or a quiet tweet. It was a collision of attitude, proof in hand, and a mic drop so seismic it shook the WNBA's social sphere. If you thought she'd shrink under the glare of cancel culture, think again. She transformed the narrative into a showcase of confidence, loyalty, and unfiltered authenticity. And what comes next might just redefine the WNBA's toughest enforcer as its most electrifying hero. The moment that sparked the uproar happened midway through last Sunday's Fever-Sun clash in Indianapolis, with the scoreboard tight and every possession magnified. Caitlin Clark, the faces of basketball sensation whose every move draws national attention, had already absorbed a series of hard screens and physical challenges all night.
Now everybody knows who Sophie Cunningham is. Everybody wants a piece of Sophie Cunningham. Her jersey is the #1 selling jersey in the WNBA. Sold out. Now, why is that significant? I'll tell you. Because her jersey surpassed the all-time woman, Caitlin Clark, the most popular woman ever in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark got her jersey surpassed by Sophie Cunningham. Why? Because Sophie Cunningham stood up for Caitlin.
Then, on a sudden fast break, J.C. Sheldon barreled into her with a shoulder so low and forceful it might have been mistaken for a freight train derailment. Clark stumbled, barely keeping her balance as the arena collectively gasped. Before the stunned crowd could even register what had happened, Sophie Cunningham exploded into the frame. She sprinted down court, locked eyes with Sheldon, and delivered a textbook shoulder check that sent her opponent sprawling onto the hardwood. For a heartbeat, the stadium held its breath in shock.
Guess whose jersey sold out today? The one and only Sophie Cunningham, aka the enforcer and Caitlin Clark's bodyguard. Sophie Cunningham defended the face of basketball, and America was in love. I've honestly never seen so many people agree on one thing on Twitter, and they did last night. And also realizing that you wouldn't want to fight Sophie Cunningham after seeing this headline.
Then erupted into a cacophony of cheers, boos, and stunned disbelief. Referees raced in and, after a brief huddle, slapped both Cunningham and Sheldon, with Marina Mabrey also caught in the scrum, with flagrant 2 ejections, citing excessive contact and player safety concerns. That seismic call didn't just swing the momentum of the game. It ignited a firestorm online. Sports commentators questioned where hard-nosed defense ends and outright misconduct begins, while fans scrambled for clips to edit into GIFs. But amid the chaos, one thing was crystal clear. Nobody expected Sophie to shy away. Instead, she seized control of her own narrative, turning what might have been a PR nightmare into her signature brand of mic drop bravado, and setting the stage for a controversy that would resonate far beyond that single collision. Within hours, the WNBA front office issued its verdict. Sophie Cunningham and Marina Mabrey would each face substantial fines for their roles in the altercation, accompanied by a pointed league statement stressing the importance of upholding sportsmanship and safeguarding player welfare. The memo pledged that officials would be watching more closely and promised stricter enforcement of contact rules in the weeks ahead. Yet, as the fine notices circulated, eagle-eyed fans dug up footage of previous games, clips of equally punishing shoulder checks and collisions that sailed by with nary a flag or private warning. Twitter timelines erupted with side-by-side comparisons, and commentators began openly questioning why Cunningham's response earned a formal punishment, while dozens of similar incidents had passed as hard-nosed basketball. Under the hashtag #StandWithSophie, supporters lambasted the decision as inconsistent, arguing that the league had applied its own rulebook selectively. Rather than issue a groveling apology, Cunningham leaned into the narrative. She shared the league's statement alongside game highlights, captioned simply, "Here's why I did it, no regrets." That post racked up hundreds of thousands of views as viewers replayed the clips to decide for themselves whether her hit was excessive or justified self-defense. Between her athletic peers and casual basketball fans alike, the consensus grew. If you won't protect your star, don't blame the enforcer who steps up. And just like that, what the WNBA hoped would quell the controversy instead fueled a surge of solidarity behind Cunningham and ratcheted the heat even higher. Enter the petition itself. Remove Sophie Cunningham from the WNBA for on-court violence, it demanded, accusing her of not only tarnishing the league's image, but also putting fellow athletes at risk. Launched by a passionate Indiana Fever fan collective within hours of the game, the petition rocketed to more than 10,000 signatures in under a day, complete with fiery testimonials urging the WNBA to, quote, draw a line in the sand before things spiral any further. But the backlash unfolded in real time. For every click to support on change.org, there were 2 tweets praising Cunningham's fierce loyalty. Meme accounts crowned her queen of the court, while TikTok creators chopped together slow-mo replays of her shoulder check with clips of her triumphant sideline strut, soundtracked, of course, by a booming bass drop. Casual fans and hardcore analysts alike jumped into the fray, debating whether the petition's call for expulsion was genuine outrage or performative gatekeeping. Meanwhile, somewhere in the chaos, merchandising data quietly exploded. Sophie's number 8 jersey, previously a mid-tier seller behind league superstars, suddenly vaulted to the top spot, selling out across multiple team stores and online platforms. Even Caitlin Clark's perennial juggernaut jerseys were eclipsed as orders flooded in from supporters declaring, "I stand with Sophie," on the back. That stark juxtaposition, an online ban campaign on one side and frenzied merch demand on the other, laid bare the widening chasm between official condemnation and fan sentiment. The league's hierarchy was busy debating fairness and discipline, while its core audience was busy celebrating the kind of unfiltered authenticity that turned a spicy petition into free publicity. In the court of public opinion, Sophie Cunningham was winning by a landslide. What happened next felt like a cultural referendum. Stories emerged of young players emulating Cunningham's unapologetic style in pickup games, cheering when someone puts up a shoulder with the same force. Sports podcasters theorized that her enforcer role could shift how teams approach protection of rising stars like Clark. Meanwhile, critics questioned why similar hits against Fever players had gone unpunished, pointing to a pattern of inconsistent officiating that disproportionately penalized women of color. They argued that when Cunningham raised her shoulder, momentum judo as she called it, it suddenly became criminal, while identical hits by white players were shrugged off as competitive spirit. That double standard sparked broader conversations about race, power, and protection in women's sports, and at the center of it all, Sophie Cunningham, who neither sought the controversy nor backed down from it. But Cunningham wasn't content to let others frame the narrative. She took to social media with a 2-pronged strategy: receipts and sass. In a now viral Instagram story, she posted side-by-side clips of Sheldon's initial charge into Clark, annotated with "No whistle, no problem." Beneath it, her own retaliatory check captioned, "Fouled, ejected, still stood tall." Her accompanying text read, "Protect your people or watch them get bulldozed. Your move, refs." That post garnered 500,000 views overnight. She followed up with a calm, measured tweet thread reminding fans that loyalty isn't a crime, and teasing that more exclusive content would drop if petitioners kept making my merch go #1. Her tone stayed conversational, peppered with dry humor, never accusing, always inviting the audience to ask why the rules seemed to bend when she played by them. The climax of this saga came when the league quietly upgraded Cunningham's fine, but refused to rescind the original ejection. In the same week, an ESPN analyst highlighted 5 comparable hits from earlier games that went unpunished. Why is Sophie the exception? The commentator asked. That question echoed across social media, spawning op-eds and late-night debate. At the same time, the petition's growth plateaued, while fan petitions emerged to keep Sophie Cunningham in the WNBA and defend the enforcer. Interviews with current and former players revealed widespread respect for Cunningham's stance. They admitted privately that her actions had forced the league to reckon with its own ironclad biases, and that perhaps her brand of medieval loyalty was exactly what the WNBA needed to evolve. All of this builds to a watershed moment. Sophie Cunningham stands as the league's unlikely antihero, the player who refused to wait for protection and instead made her own rules. She's become a symbol of unapologetic power, a lightning rod for debate on equity, enforcement, and authenticity in modern sports. Her jersey sold out, her mentions trended, and the most fervent petition now reads more like a fan club sign-up and a call to expel. The WNBA's next move will ripple far beyond this season.